SaaStock is the preeminent global community of SaaS founders. Thousands of companies are involved with this organization, and I had to join. I've enjoyed it for many, many years, going to the conferences and other venues, and I'm glad they've built an online community.
Welcome to the SaaS Revolution Show, 0 to 10 special. Jaakko Paalanen, CRO at Leadfeeder. Welcome, Jaakko.
Thank you, Alex. Good to be here, my friend.
Yeah, good to have you on the podcast. It's been 2019 since we last saw each other in person. I think that was at Slush, and I was very tired after that event, but it was a lot of good fun. And yeah, great to have you on the podcast on the 0 to 10 special, where obviously you're on here because you recently crossed that milestone, or earlier this year. So congrats on that. And good to see, because I think when we were discussing in Dublin at SaaS Society, which is the post event for SaaStock, you sort of mentioned that had you not crossed 10 million in ARR, that you'd fire yourself. So I'm very happy to see that you've still got a job.
Yeah, I still do, and yeah, those were great times at SaaS Society and SaaStock overall, and yeah, time has flown, and yeah, crossed 10 million earlier this year. Haven't yet fired myself, and happy about that too, and I think the investors and everybody else are happy too. So yeah, in a good flow right now, and this year is looking good too.
Great. Well, it was a great milestone. That's what we're going to get deep into. But before we do, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Who is Jaakko Paalanen?
Yes, Jaakko. I'm from Helsinki, Finland. Been with Leadfeeder over 6 years now. So joined pretty much after the founders with a team of 4, and now we are grown to around 130 people in the company. Have a background in Master of Science, so a bit of a business/IT background from there. Worked in various Finnish SaaS companies before joining Leadfeeder, and basically have grown through our growth journey and scaled basically myself every year to the next level. At least try to do that. And currently looking after our all new revenue channels and customer success and support team. So basically both sides of the growth and making sure we grow as fast as possible, sustainably, but as fast as possible.
And you're not only 10 million in revenue plus 100 people worldwide now, so fully remote company from the beginning?
Yeah, exactly. So fully remote since, the early years, 2014, around 130 people around Europe and US. And yeah, basically we've been remote since the get-go, and truly born global company. So didn't start really from Finnish market, but elsewhere. And yeah, that has been a successful choice. And as we can now see, many companies are moving to that remote direction after this COVID time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's interesting actually that you were fully remote since 2014. Also, product-led growth, company since 2014 as well. So pioneers in that respect, because now it's becoming. I mean, PLG is almost table stakes, and remote, is the soup du jour. Everybody's talking about being a remote company or digital first or whatever. So Leadfeeder, pioneers in that respect. And actually, whilst I knew you were a remote organization, I didn't know it was necessarily from 2014. So interesting to see, with obviously where the world is and SaaS is in 2021. Going back to 2014, or in fact, actually 2012, when the idea of Leadfeeder was formed, can you give us a bit more of insight into that Leadfeeder founding story?
Yeah, sure. So Beck, our CEO, already worked with web analytics over 10 years before Leadfeeder was founded, and he actually sold his previous web analytics business, Snoopy, around 2012. basically the idea of Leadfeeder, which is generating leads from website traffic, already came back in the days when his father used to have a furniture store that he built the website for, and visitors came to the site, but he was always wondering like who's behind this traffic and how could I convert this into visible traffic and point them more sales and overall identify who they are. And at that time already became the sort of reverse IP world, where IP address can be turned into company name, and we can know how many people from that company and which company it was from which location, and use that as an intent data for sales teams. But at that same time, around 2012, Google Analytics also started to become bigger and bigger in the world, and it had some of these parts of data that can be utilized to identify that website traffic. And basically at that time, we saw an opportunity that why not to integrate with Google Analytics. So customers or prospects already have, I think the rate was that around 80% of world's B2B websites had Google Analytics on their site at the time. So it was really easy to plug into that. People just give access to it, couple of clicks, we fetch the data, and once they land to the app, they will basically see the traffic and companies that visit their website. So that was kind of the early time story, and also because of the past exit, we had a non-compete for the Finnish market, so that also pushed us towards this born global ecosystem, in a sense that we had to go fully in English, not look at Finnish market, but everything else basically.
I guess was that, I mean, hard to say, or maybe you've spoken about it with Pekka, but if there was if that non-compete or in Finland clause didn't exist, would the company have started in Finland with the Finnish market in Finnish, and could that have then impacted growth in the company? That would there be a different company today had that not existed?
Yeah, I think that's just a booster for it. Like, anyways, after Snoopy, like we were thinking of ways how to do this product-led growth model and not to have salespeople. So basically, selling products without salespeople was the idea back in that time. And during 2013, which we would call like this pre-revenue phase, when we started testing out the initial product, we had a free Leadfeeder product. We had a website. We ran some few paid campaigns, tried to push traffic to the website, get people to test out the free trial, and we did customer interviews and got some feedback and tried to improve the product bit by bit. And the idea at that time was just to give it out for free and gather as much information as possible, and everything was done in English. So early on, we already got a lot of trials from UK and US and all over Europe, where there was just this English-speaking markets.
Was that how you got your first customers then, through the paid ads sort of acquisition strategy?
Yeah, exactly. So first customers basically came through paid traffic and paid campaigns, and we also, like, during 2014, when is the time that we sort of were looking at the product market fit, is we used paid campaigns, mainly Google AdWords, work with the website conversion rates, also introduced a 30-day free trial, and then took some of our features and put them behind the premium wall. So after the 30-day free trial, we dropped you to a free version, or if you put your credit card in, you get to the paid version and start paying a monthly subscription. And the whole idea was to have a sort of a no-touch automation. And at that time, we started using Intercom actually to help to automate that whole onboarding process. So it was also early days for Intercom, so we've been using them also close to 10 years now, but that allowed us to do the real no-touch automation during the free trial phase and also after when they become a paid customer. So there we tracked heavily the retention rates and how well we can keep the customers, and kept improving. And once we were happy with the retention rates and customers were coming in, basically I would say that was the time towards the end of 2014 that we found product market fit.
Okay, so almost 1 year to get to product market fit. And I think, as you said, well, we described a little bit in terms of how you got there, but getting these customers in, the free trials, doing the customer development with them on the way, and iterating until you kind of really fine-tuned the product to see that, hey, look, now we've really got something that people want, and they're buying it, they're telling their friends about it. We've got some real kind of traction here. Then what happened when you get product market fit? What's the next stage? It's like, okay, boys, we're scaling. Like,
yeah, exactly. So usually when you find the product market fit, it's then, there is a potential product that customer like to use. So then it's about exploring new channels, how to start selling that for real, basically. And that time for us was around 2015, 2016, when we started exploring these new channels, and still it was full inbound led marketing program, but we started on top of the paid campaigns, we had a content strategy. So we launched our blog. That was the first time. And we also introduced an affiliate program so that those customers who were using the free product could get more extended trials if they share us in Twitter or social media. And that sort of created us a small viral loop. So content marketing and SEO became big focus. All of that was driving more traffic to the website. Then the website was a big conversion point that we started to optimize all the time. Also was beneficial that Pekka had a heavy background in like web marketing overall, and we were really data driven company from the get-go, and that's super important in product led growth models. Then push people to the 30-day free trial again, some of them to the no touch automation, and then basically getting them into paid customers. And still around this time, I believe we have very little hand holding. Like something we did was through intercom, we always had a live chat support as a backup, which we still do, but that basically facilitated everything throughout the free trial, the website, and premium customer journey. So we always had a backup there in case of need. So 2015, 2016 was exploring these new marketing channels, basically.
And when did you first raise capital? Who was it with, and how did you secure it?
Yeah, so I think that was to early 2016 when we raised the seed round. I think at that point we already started finding a bit repeatable processes in our marketing channels, and that made the investors confident. And I think we raised around 500,000 from Vendep and Superhero Capital, so both are Finnish VC companies. And yeah, that's basically how it got started. So Pekka financed the company before that from his own pocket, so I think it was a good time to get more outside money in and really start scaling the business.
And then how much have you raised to date?
To date, I would say probably close just around 5 million. So we have been really capital efficient. We haven't raised more money than what we need, and I think that has been really beneficial. So still owners and employees, we have a full control of what we do in our business.
Given that you've crossed 10 million and you're capital efficient, and I guess companies like MailChimp recently acquired for 12 billion, quite a nice number, have managed to scale their businesses without raising. Where do you sit at the moment in terms of, hey, we want to get to 100 million, but if we took more venture capital, we could get there faster? Or actually, this is it, we've taken our 5 million, we're capital efficient, we want to keep control and ownership of the business to bootstrap to 100 million. So where do you sit now? Careful, VCs might be listening.
Yeah, like of course it's still like a VC driven business, so we have no plans on bootstrapping really. Like we will raise when we need it. Like of course next up is time for Series B round, and we have repeatable sales and revenue channels that we can just pour more money in, and it goes up faster. And then the product development is a big thing, and there in the future obviously we build some parts ourselves, but whether it makes sense to acquire some companies, who knows? But I think that would be roughly the strategy for the short-term future.
Yeah, maybe 1 week after publishing, I'm going to read in TechCrunch that Tiger Global has given 90 million to Leadfeeder. They cite finding out about you through the SaaS Revolution Show. So finder's fee over to post it to SaaS in Dublin. Good stuff. And what about let's talk about this first 0 to 1 million. What challenges did you have to overcome?
Yeah, 0 to 1 million. If I think back the time, as I said, like exploring those new marketing channels, 2015, 2016, we hit that 1 million, I think, like somewhere 2017. I think finding the repeatable models for the marketing channels was one thing, and heavily working on the website, and also what really ignited our growth was that we started really focusing on how to monetize these trials, so that we just don't drive new trials in, but we have a qualification system in place, how we assign some to the salespeople and still some go to the sort of inbound no touch funnel. So we started having a few these inbound sales reps that worked only for those who sign up for trial. And we found out, for example, that if we have this 30-minute training call during the trial, we had a 50% trial to paid conversion rate from those that been trained, whereas on a normal level it was 15%. So it was a big improvement, and then basically we had qualification criteria in place, so we scored all the trials that come in and then assigned those based on the region and based on their score to salespeople or to the no touch funnel. What else? As said before, like from the get-go, really heavy on data and analytics. So we had everything, we tracked basically everything. So for example, what we found out is that the 30-day free trial was a bit too long. It didn't drive enough urgency. Like we saw that people do all the key activities with the product adoption already in the first 2 weeks. So we figured that, hey, let's cut the trial in half. So we introduced 14-day free trial. And what we saw is that the conversion rates stay on the same level or even better. And we get the money in faster, and the whole process goes faster. And we also felt confident to increase our prices at that point. So I think 2017 we also increased our prices around 30%, which some people might be a bit scared in the early days to raise up the prices. But again, like we track the retention rates, the adoption, all cohorts, and we were confident that this only can affect us positively. And obviously we tested, but then we saw that it works, and I think that was the main thing there from the process perspective. People wise, we had our first US hire in the end of 2016. So even before we had anybody in the ground in US, we already had our first 100 paid customers from the US market. And I think that's the testament on how well the blog and content process worked in the early days, that we could attract people from all over the world to our website and then start the free trial. But still, from 0 to 1 million, even I was doing all kinds of things and wearing multiple hats. So I worked with the partner program, helped with the website, worked in support, worked in inside sales, worked in customer success. So kind of like wearing multiple hats and building the process from all perspectives, and then slowly starting to hire 1 or 2 people to each of these steps in the process.
Amazing. So on the content marketing side of things, how often were you publishing content on the blog?
Yeah, good question. I think in the beginning, one thing is that we published content, but we also worked with PR agencies. So I think it was called Inbound Junction that we worked in 2016, 17. So we got articles to TechCrunch and Forbes and get these nice backlinks from there. I guess at the time we published a blog maybe like once every 2 weeks. So it wasn't too rapid but we also had a big help center already early on in the website, and we heavily worked on the communication from the auto messages from intercom. So I think one thing that was beneficial that already in the early days we had like a kind of like a content superstar from the writing perspective, who was a native English speaker and writer, and that can still be visible in some of the parts of our blogs, that it was a really high quality content that we produced already back in that time, even though we didn't shoot like multiple ones a week.
What about then, let's have a look at your journey 1 million to 10 million. The kind of saying the challenges that you had to overcome, maybe pick a handful of them in that phase.
Yeah, that's it's funny when you put, you know, just from 1 to 10, but now when I actually, before this, I looked at the growth graph, and yeah, it's a long journey from 1 to 10. Although for many it sounds like, yeah, you just, you know, do it in a year or two, but yeah, there's a lot of things there. So I think key challenges, I think one was that although we were like a product-led growth and inbound was the main thing, you can scale inbound marketing, but it's a bit slower paced. So you work with the SEO, you work with your content, and really try to try awareness to that website, and then all the way to the trial and paid. But we saw that, you know, outbound and agency partnership channels could work for us. So around 2018, 2019, we introduced outbound and partnerships sales channels at the same time. And I think there, you know, the key challenge with outbound was that our average prices were very low, since we're inbound driven from the get-go. So, you know, our ACVs might have been around 2K a year, for example. So you can't have SDR and account executive working with 2K deal, for example. So we had to introduce like a full cycle sales process. So salesperson basically prospects themselves, moves them to the free trial, and then turns them into paid. And I think their key lesson learned is to really know your numbers, look at the lifetime value to customer acquisition cost rate, so that you are able to tell that this outbound is efficient. Like many people told me, with those price rates, it's not possible, it's not capital efficient. But again, with LTV and payback periods, we could prove that, yeah, it's healthy. So let's just push more towards that. And it's been working pretty well ever since. And agency partnerships was introduced around the same time. So basically contacting marketing agencies who refer clients to us. And I think key lessons there is just to like form a good partner program from the get-go. I think we had a bit like I would say a vague one. We didn't have a clear process that what do we require really from the partners. So many of them, you know, became partners but became inactive immediately, because there wasn't like enough incentive or enough urgency or enough hand holding to really get them active. So I think that's one good lessons learned from there. If I think this journey from 0 to 10, I think still from my perspective, the biggest learnings came from retention and customer success operation side. So I think before, you know, let's say around that 1 to 5 million, you can have pretty solid retention rates, and you are growing pretty nicely, that, you know, 10% month rate, and over 100% a year. Everything is so great, but then at some point, you know, you have the issue that, okay, customers are canceling. Why is this happening? And the retention rates don't look so great anymore. So we had to look at that from few perspectives. One is the product. Product needs to be able to activate the people and make them adopted already when they become paying customers. But then even a bigger impact I think we saw was how we organized our customer success operation. So before that time, we really didn't have too many KPIs or metrics for the customer success team. They basically, when they get a client in, they try to get them on a phone and try to have a call with them and check if everything is great. And I think heavy focus shifted towards that. So we started tracking what so-called onboarding rate. So we had a different percentages goals for onboarding new clients per each tier that we have, and really saw that if we have a quality training in the first 30 days when they become customers, then we get rid of that early churn that was the issue during that time. So we had an issue that customers come in, they are excited for 1 month, but then they are not sure how to exactly use this or benefit, and then just forget and cancel it. So that's what we attacked with this onboarding by the customer success team. We had renewal rates as a heavier focus, so CS team was responsible of renewing the accounts, and then also up still this date responsible of slight upsells too. So the main metric the CS team still looks is the net churn and net retention rates, and of course they have somewhat control on the cross churn side, so how many people cancel, but what they can affect even more is the net side. So able to, for example, in our case, sell extra websites or extra paid services on top for the existing clients. So I think all of that proved out to work really, really well, and we've been able to better our retention rates all the time. And I think this has been a key piece in reaching the 10 million ARR level, because if you have high churn rates, it becomes real hard.
How have you learned to be a good CRO with the business? Is it just by doing, by watching talks at SaaStock?
Yeah, honestly, SaaStock helped some bits because the content was great, and back in 2016, 17, I was very junior in this business still, so I had to kind of learn by doing all the time. But then once I got to SaaStock the first time, then I really saw how the world class is doing things, and that's kind of like when it first hit me that okay, like these people are doing it on this level, I want to do it also on this level. So that was sort of a key thing for me already at Leadfeeder from the beginning, that I want to be best in the world in this space that we are competing in. And learning by doing heavily, but also benchmarking who is doing similar business models than we are doing, and how they are doing things. Studied how Martha Birch from HubSpot is building inbound models, or sales team compensation, or marketing team compensation. So I think you always need to have some sort of little inspiration with those. And when I was listening into SaaStock recordings or at the event, even though there might be, for example, 90% of the presentation is something you're doing already, there's always one thing that kind of start thinking that, hey, we could maybe improve this area of the business with that. And I think those things keep me alert and learning all the time. I think other things like being super data driven and numbers focused from the beginning has helped me to scale up all the way from that early years to over 10 million, and investor conversations are really different during those time periods too. So that has helped me to be prepared basically with any number questions I get. And of course 2016 is just me responsible of myself. Now I'm responsible of 60 people, so half of the company. So it's a lot of human skills, understanding different cultures, how to communicate with people in Europe versus US, what are the techniques, and you just need to understand your team members. And I think that's also one sort of lessons learned that I've been trying to improve all the time, and having a real connection with the people who I work with.
If you could go back to when you joined the business, from what you know now, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, what would I say? Don't trust the big, like huge tech companies too much. So, for example, I had a really great relationship with Google, for example, but you know, I think 1.5 years ago, as said before, like we were fully like pulling the data from Google Analytics, and it's a big organization, so of course, like can't expect too much response time or updates. But as said, like we had, I think at that point we had 5,000 paying customers, and then suddenly one day just one field was gone from their APIs and no explanation, and never had it afterwards. But that basically means that none of our clients got any data anymore. So all of our customers, basically the Leadfeeder went broken. Luckily, we had a backup, so we had our own script. So then we, worked for a month to switch our own script to all of our clients' websites. So that was a big lessons learned war story that we went through, but we went through it really, really well, and I think it made us stronger. But sometimes I think, the main lessons learned is that don't build your product fully on top of somebody else, that you are fully dependent on somebody else's business. That's a risky business always.
No, definitely good advice there. What are some of the top resources that you would recommend for founders or CROs on this journey?
I think consume all like SaaStock materials you can find. SaaS focused podcasts from Spotify, those that I like to listen a lot when I'm walking or jogging or biking or whatever. YouTube still surprisingly good source for video content. So go there, use B2B SaaS, whatever extra words. I've looked at Mark Roberge videos from there, for example. Those are always good way to self learn. And like now you can take part in online events, but once we recover to the live events, then I would say that those live events and learning from people face to face are also really important ones.
No, definitely, and I think like we said, really looking forward to live in person coming back next year. Well, great stuff, Jaakko. Been great to speak to you. We'll hopefully get to see you in Helsinki later this year, if not for sure in Dublin, SaaStock next year, next October. I guess kind of final question: how long are you planning to get to 100 million? And if you don't get there, are you going to fire yourself?
It's a great question. I think at this point it would be healthy to say that we try to roughly double the business every year. So give us let's say 4 years and we'll get there. And if we don't, then sure, I'm gonna fire myself at that point if we are unsuccessful.
Look forward to speaking to you in 4 years' time. Obviously, I'll speak to you every year on the way, but we'll have that chat again in 4 years' time. But good luck with it. Congrats. No mean feat getting to 10 million ARR. Really pleased to see that. And thanks so much for sharing on the SaaS Revolution Show with the SaaStock community.
Yeah, thank you.